How's it going, everyone? This is Lana Teramae from Metal Express Radio. Today, my special guest is the one, the only Gil Moore from Canadian hard rock power trio Triumph. He's here to talk about the brand new tribute album, Magic Power, All-Star Tribute to Triumph, which is available now and can be purchased through the band's website, so stick around for the full interview. So, first of all, I just want to say thank you for the music of Triumph, especially the song Follow Your Heart. That song has been my anthem that's getting me through the years, so I thank you very much for the music and all the empowering songs you provided throughout the years. So actually, when the band first split in 1983, it was a different time then. Rick was already gone, and flash forward 30 years later, the music is still alive and well. How do you feel about all this?
Well, first of all, we didn't split in 1983. It was 1988.
I say
So,
83, I meant 93, I'm so sorry.
yeah, 93 was actually, yeah, I guess you're right. Actually, when I think about it, Rick left in 88, then we added Phil, and then we stopped touring in 93 after we toured our last tour with Phil X. Yeah, you're right. So we're both wrong. Uh, Anyway, yeah, I think a lot of the music, sometimes it takes decades to resonate with people to see what music really means to them. Like I know for me, a lot of the music that I grew up on, which was blues, and some of the early blues-based rock and so on, like it even is more apparent to me now when I hear it, like why it was uh, of interest and what made it distinctive to me, as a young person listening in the very beginning. So I think it takes sometimes time to actually really hear what's inside music, and it's not just, kind of a first blush, here's what it is. The top level, let's say. Sometimes I think people go deeper into music over time. That's what I would say.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's like when the first album comes out, and sometimes it doesn't really click with you, but then years later, circumstances change or your taste change, and then you all of a sudden you hear that album differently. Something like that.
I noticed lyrics, for example. So I always would listen to rhythm and melody and kind of gloss over lyrics a lot of the time. Whereas now when I listen, I kind of listen lyrics first. I don't know why that happened, but to your point, it's just the way you listen, later on to the same music and you hear things that you didn't hear before.
I was gonna ask this later, but is there a Triumph of the 10 Triumph studio albums? Is there an album you weren't very fond of before, but you've grown to appreciate it years later?
I think with our records, like I go back in time and there's things about all of them that I like, and there's things that, about all of them that I wish we could do over again. I think all bands probably are the same. I don't think anyone really thinks that everything they do is great. It's like everything else in life. If you're an artist, some of your work is your best work, and others, is your weak work. So, we're the same as every other band in that respect. But as far as the eras are concerned, I tend to go back to the energy in the room at the time and what was going on in our lives and so on. And there's generally like highlights, within every album experience, almost like touring as well. Almost there's highlights within every tour. And again, back to your question about, as time goes by, listening to music, I think the same thing happens. Uh, Thinking about the recording of music or the tours that are associated with the records and so on, like, you kind of distill all this information over time, say, oh yeah, that's what that meant, and that's why that happened, and makes it in our case, they're great memories. Really, we were very fortunate to be able to play the big stage and have big crowds and so on, which is something, when you're a young kid and you're just starting out, like you're just dreaming about just playing anywhere and just getting some kind of job and some kind of recognition and, things like gold records and Hall of Fame inductions and all that stuff. You don't even consider anything like that. So when that stuff finally happens, it's kind of, my God, how on
Mm.
earth did we ever get so lucky? That's kind of the impact it has on me. Just feel kind of grateful that we had the fans that we had and have the fans that we have and how loyal they've been. And you making the comment about follow your heart after 3 decades or more, it's nice to hear.
Yeah, and speaking of, performing and all that stuff, 2008, that was a pretty interesting year for the band. They performed at two big festivals, the Sweden Rock Festival, which was released as a live album in 2012, I believe, and the Rocklahoma Festival. How important were those gigs for you? Mm, Given the circumstances and how things kind of ended with Rick, did those two performances help repair old wounds that were brought upon with Rick's departure, or even the drama with RCA and even the personal matters you were going through with their father's passing? What were what did those performances mean to you from a mental standpoint?
So, the two shows we did in '08 were really performed for a reason. And that is we really wanted our kids that were younger that hadn't seen Triumph in the heyday to be able to see the band on the big stage. And so it was really a great experience to be able to do that. And then I would say the other aspect of it, aside from our family members that wanted to come, was that Rick and Mike and I wanted to get back on stage together and just kind of do it. It was I don't know if I could say it was for old time's sake or whether I would say um, it was felt like part of the healing process, and it was really great. I mean, we had a fantastic time, and uh, there's a lot of love in the room, let's say, in the dressing room, and in many ways, and with the fans as well. It was great for seeing fans that hadn't seen us for a long time. A lot of people flew in for those two shows, so it wasn't just like fans from Sweden or fans from Dallas and so on down in Pryor, Oklahoma. It was fans that had flown in from around the country in both cases or from Europe, and so it was the comments from them. A lot of them were very heartfelt. It was really nice for us to hear.
And I think a lot of fans were expecting a new studio album at the time, and then because that would have been the perfect time to strike while the iron was hot, yet nothing came of it. And I respect the band's decision that they wanted, they already paid their dues, they already did what they set out to accomplish. But there are bands that just record studio albums without all the touring. Was that even briefly considered making a new record, or it was already decided, no, we're never doing this again? It was just those performances, that stuff.
Yeah, we had no plans to make a record, although Mike and I did perform on one of Rick's solo records on one of the tracks. And again, that was just a fun thing to be back in the studio together with the three of us. So a lot of things we've done, in the latter stages of our career have been done, purposefully, and kind of with limited scope, I'll say. So like today, we're still very involved with each other and having some really good moments. Performing. We just performed in Edmonton, at the NHL playoffs. And we did that again. We just did that for a purpose. We did because it was going to be fun. Our family was going to be there, because the hockey world had really embraced Triumph in Canada, and it was kind of payback. A lot of reasons, I suppose, that just converged uh, to make it a good idea. And so that's kind of where we're at. I mean, it reminds me of float like a bee, sting like a butterfly. I think that's backwards. I think it's float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. So maybe we got it upside down, but we're kind of making it up as we go along. I jokingly call it ham and egging it. It's just kind of, oh, I don't know. We woke up today and we decided this. So there's not really a method to our madness. I think it's more like having fun and just doing what comes naturally from day to day with our relationships and what we do with music. We're all very happy with the position that we are in good spaces in our lives and having fun with things right now.
Speaking of the Edmonton performance, I was that planned like months in advance? Because I know Mike wasn't there. It was due to scheduling issues. But yeah, whose idea was it, and how far in advance was that planned out?
Yeah, I guess that was back to the butterfly and the bee or the hams and the eggs. It was not planned out. It was last minute, and we were working to be on we were scheduled to be on the Eddie Trunk show nationally in America that same day. And so there was a conflict there, but we decided we could do both things at once because Eddie was thought it would be cool. Rick and I were basically backstage in the trailer in Edmonton, and so he dialed us in to the interview with Mike Levine and Mike Klink. So we just had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, truthfully, no. When Rogers and the NHL came and invited us to play at the Oilers game, we just thought it was a really nice opportunity. They had been playing late on the line in their promotion of the NHL playoffs, like the national anthem. So it was a way for us to kind of go and say thanks as well.
Yeah, and ironically enough, Phil X, Todd Kearns, and Brent Fitz was with you guys, and they performed their part of the All Star tribute album. So, when the album was first conceived by Mike Clank, what were your initial thoughts? Was any nervousness or apprehension given the nature of some tribute albums? They could either be a hit or a miss. So, what were your initial reactions when Mike came up with the idea?
Well, you nailed it when you said when you knew you had Mike Clink, it changed everything because I think a lot of tribute stuff is not the greatest. I'll put it that way. Whereas Mike uh, is so well respected, and he's one of the greatest of all time, really in hard rock. So when you have a producer of that stature who wants to do it and really wants to do it, you're not going to say no, and you know what the quality is going to be from the outset. And he made all the artistic decisions. I mean, yeah, he would play us tracks when they were more or less finished. Sometimes he'd say, "Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of the vocal? What do you think of the guitar solo or whatever?" But he was steering the ship from day one, and there was no second guessing that came from myself or Mike or Rick. And the other thing you got to remember is he started with Phil X. So that was his first call. That was the first track that he recorded. It was Phil doing Allied Forces. Phil did the vocal, did the guitar. And so he sort of started from kind of what I'd call ground zero with Phil. And that was sort of the laying of the foundation almost that first track because I guess when it's an idea, you have nothing. It's vapor. As soon as you have one track recorded, you have a starting point. You're on first base, and we could see right then how well that track turned out, and full trust to Mike, and a great debt of gratitude that we feel for him, that he put so much heart and soul into this against all odds during COVID. It was horrible. He couldn't book studios for so many times. He had distancing issues to deal with. He had quarantining issues to deal with. It was amazing that he actually finished this with all of those things working against him. But it's a testament, to his work ethic and also the relationships. The musicians all respect him so much that they didn't let him down, and against all odds, they would get their tracks done despite what was going on during COVID.
Yeah, and I was watching the China documentary yesterday, and he was kind of like, I guess the, I guess the Dr. Phil, you would say, in the whole process you were going through making the Sporter Kings record. Because I know you started off with a different producer, and then Mike sort of saved the day. Was that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, we fired the other producer, and Mike really did rescue. We felt like the ship was sinking, and he rescued it. And I guess that's part of why we have such a special relationship with him. Um, just we work with a lot of great producers in our career. Some people like Eddie Kramer, for example, I have tremendous respect for. But there was never a crisis with every other producer, whereas Mike was in the middle of a crisis, and he was able to steady the ship and with his sort of steady hand guide us through it. So it's one of those things you can never fully appreciate unless you were there and you went through it, which we did. And
Mhm.
so I'll be grateful to Mike forever for that phase of our career.
Were you involved a little bit at all with the recordings and the album making process, or like have a say on the songs that were going to be performed, or it was up to the artist to decide all that?
Do you mean on the tribute album?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, on the tribute album, we didn't have anything to do with it. It was really, again, it was Mike deciding, you know, which musician for which part on which song, and he picked all the songs too. So uh, it was truly, his production from soup to nuts, every last bit of it. He recorded every track. He mixed the whole thing and worked with each musician, and you can see on the album jacket. I didn't add them up, but it looks to me like it could be up to 50 different players and singers and so on. That's a lot of communication, to work with everybody and get the tracks just the way you want them and so on. So a ton of work.
Yeah, and the listening to the tribute album, I noticed the most of the tracks they aren't drastically different from the original studio versions, but I kind of like that because it shows that the musicians they respected the originals, but yet they still tried to add little nuances and textures to put their own spin to it. But I have to say a highlight for me would be Blinding Light Show, which was performed by Envy of None. So, what were your initial reactions when you heard that version?
Well, I was blown away. And, to your point, Lana, yeah, I think, many of the tracks that were recorded, they were sort of respectful to the original arrangements and the songwriting. And that was kind of, I guess, what you expect. And then when you get a track like Blinding Light Show that Envy of None completely turned upside down, it's really special because they made it their own song. And they're kind of a special group to us because we're friends with the all the musicians are from Toronto. Of course, the great Alex Lifeson on guitar, who's got such an amazing career with Rush. It was great to have Alex, but the other members of Envy of None, Andy and Alfio and David and so on, are also from Toronto, and they're friends of ours. And so it was kind of great to have those people involved. And unfortunately, the only person we didn't meet was Mia because she's American. I'm not sure what city she's from, but she didn't record up here or anything, so we didn't get to meet her. But it was a very special recording, and the way she interpreted the song, and the way Alex and Andy and so on interpreted the song instrumentally. To your point, it was completely unique. They made it their own song, and it was really a great surprise for the three of us. We just loved it.
I had to do a double take listening to the acoustic tracks. I had to go like, oh my god, is that Alex Lifeson? Because it's so different from what he did with Rush. I mean, I guess he did a little bit of acoustic work, especially with the acoustic version of Resist that they used to do. But yeah, it sounded nothing, almost nothing like what he did with Rush. So I really enjoyed that.
Well, Alex is a master musician, so he has a lot of different colors, let's say, in his palette when he plays guitar, and uh, he's really I've heard him play all sorts of things outside of Rush, and he's a master musician. There's no doubt about that.
So, what was your relationship with Rush? Was there any competition between Triumph and Rush, or it wasn't? It wasn't like that at all.
It wasn't like that at all. We admired Rush when we were young, and we still admire Rush. I mean, one of the greatest bands of all time. There were a lot of comparisons made, and a lot of it is simply, I think, because we were from, we're both from, from Canada, from the same city, and maybe the fact that Geddy's voice is high and Rick's voice is pretty high, and we were trios. So I guess it's we were from the same city. We were both trios, and we both had some vocals that were kind of high. But I think that's where the comparison ends. Obviously different musical directions and so on. But the guys in Rush are, first of all, they're great guys. And we obviously everyone misses Neil, one of the greatest drummers ever in rock. Uh, it No, there was never, really a competition. It was just they were just great guys, and they were knocking it out of the park, and they were from our hometown. And if anything, I think the fact that they did so well, it just helped us too. We were like, okay, well, they were a little bit they went into America a little bit before we did, so they knocked open some doors, and I think, we were coming right along behind them. It probably made it easier for us. So
Speaking of drummers, one of my favorite bands is AC/DC, and their drummer Phil Rudd has a completely different style from yours. So you probably get asked this a lot, but who is the drummer or drummers, I should say, that inspired you to play drums?
Well, a lot of drummers. I mean, even Phil Rudd. I mean, he had his own sort of signature and his own kind of magic. I mean, we just talked about Neil Peart, and I mean, look at the incredible difference between, those. It's like comparing sort of, Ringo Starr to Ginger Baker or something. You've got one drummer that's, very busy and a lot of flourishes and so on, and another that's kind of just rock steady beat. I know for me, I was influenced by all kinds of drummers, but if I had to, pick a few that really stood out for me, like Ian Pace, was absolutely, to me, a sort of a perfect combination between rock solid and a feathery, sort of almost like a jazz touch that he had at times. So I thought he had a like a special sort of steel fist and a velvet glove on drums is the way I would put it. John Bonham, the same thing. Like I felt uh, he really he sort of epitomized the and underscored like the importance of rhythm, particularly in I'm talking about rock music now. I'm not, going back to where I started in the blues, where we had guys like Al Jackson, who I guess was my original favorite in Booker T and the MGs, but the guys that had taken it, forward, like Ian and John Bonham, phenomenal players. I think both of them had, similarities, I guess, to each other. They would be the two in rock that I would pick, but the other drummer that, and I can't say that he really influenced me because uh, I was not ever playing jazz, but Buddy Rich is by far, in my opinion, the greatest drummer of all time. Like, there's no one that you can compare to Buddy Rich, in my humble opinion. Um, he was just, I got to hear him play very, very close. I was 3 or 4 feet away from his drum set on one occasion. I was literally I could reach out and touch his bass drum. I didn't, but and I was very young at the time. I was a kid, and but I'll never forget the sound of Buddy Rich. It's been with me forever since that moment. And of course, I've seen him many times on TV and on recordings and so on and so forth. But I've never ever seen a drummer that could really grasp rhythm the way Buddy Rich could.
Yeah, you're not the first person to mention Buddy Rich. I know when I interviewed, God, I forget what was his name was. The drummer from Flotsam and Jetsam, but yeah, he also mentioned him too. So really popular. I know. So I know you have to go soon. So just a couple more questions. So I been reading a lot of autobiographies lately, and after watching the China documentary, I could tell that you definitely have a lot to say about the music business and definitely how the world works. So I was, given your busy schedule and all the factors that I mentioned before, would you ever consider writing an autobiography, or that's just too busy for your schedule?
Yeah, it's I've been asked that quite a bit, and I would never say never. It might happen, but I am quite busy. I'm working really hard right now on a charity that I've been working on in Canada up here. That provides free music education to young people and music wellness as well. And that's kind of my number one focus aside from what's going on at Metalworks day to day. And Metalworks is a beehive of activity between our studios and our school and our production company. We're going gangbusters all the time. Triumph all of a sudden is become more active with all the stuff that we've doing with the Coalition for Music Education, Music Monday, and the tribute album, and the hockey playoffs, and it just keeps rolling, and it's everything that I'm involved in is fun, and it's all music. Um, but uh, I can't keep piling things on. Or maybe I can, I don't know. I keep piling things on. But right now my main focus is to try to get this to get the Sounds Unite Canada charity rolling, and so that we can provide the resources to some young people that are denied access to music education. And I have a firm belief that all kids should have access to music and music education. It should be a fundamental, like food and shelter and all the rest of it. We're finding out how good music is for people, and in the crazy mixed up world we're in, sometimes music's one of the best things to pull people together and make them feel better. So that's my main mission. If I get past that, yeah, writing a book, yeah, maybe I'll ask ChatGPT, will you write a book for me? That'd be funny.
Yeah, maybe after you get like a million hours of sleep, maybe you can fit that into your schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to check with my wife on that.
Uh, yeah, so, but yeah, I think the charities sounds sounds great, especially since even the documentary, some of your fans even said that the music got them through a difficult time. And I mean, where would life be without music? Even if you're not a musician, there are people do say that, oh, this song helped me get through my day. This song helped me get through this. So, music is it's something that I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a music lover, but it just seems wrong that living in a world without music.
Yeah, I think what's happening now that's of most interest to me is the brain science now that's revealing how music affects us. And it's something I never ever thought, as a kid learning to play drums, that it would ever be something that would cross my radar. But here I am, and I'm fascinated by it. And talking to people that are involved at the research centers in several of the universities here about their advancements in understanding music in the brain is kind of it's making me understand music on a whole different level. Uh, I have a very good friend who's in Germany, who studies the future of music and the trends in the purpose of music in society. And in our last conversation, he forecast that within 10 years, the medicinal and mental benefits from music would exceed the commercial value and the impact in the community of commercial music, which I thought was fascinating observation. So yeah, it's just like a new trail. Like I'm kind of a bloodhound sniffing my way down this trail into where music might take us. And it's a fascinating experience. And I'm really hoping that where it leads us with music education is into a space where it's used not just to teach people, the fundamentals of music theory and so on, but to understand how music impacts the brain and mental health and feelings of well-being and stress relief and many other aspects that I think when they are well understood will change the community, will change the way music is viewed in the community and how it's implemented, let's say, in the education system and how it's implemented in the community.
Real quick, I know you have to go soon, but do you have any updates on the China's reality show you've been working on with Paul Dexter? Any updates about that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the another reason you mentioned the show that we did with the at the NHL playoffs, and one of the reasons we did that was to get I get Todd Kearns and Brent Fitz on stage with Phil and Rick and myself and see how it went, and do some rehearsing together and stuff. And it went extremely well. And we have a great plan, I believe, that I've been working on for about 5 years now with a gentleman named Paul Dexter, who is our great lighting designer from Los Angeles at Masterworks Lighting. And the plan was to try to conceive of a show that utilized a lot of technology and allowed an older band to, like in our case, where we've had fans saying, "Please tour, please tour, please tour," which isn't always possible for musicians to be able to combine virtual elements with the physical, bring new musicians into the band. So in this case, we went back, of course, to Phil because he was part of Triumph, our last guitar player that after Rick had left, and say, "Well, if you get Rick and Phil on the same stage, that might be a double-barrel shotgun. Let's try that." And so it was a lot of fun. And I know Rick and Phil had a great time playing together. I had a great time with Brent. He's an awesome drummer. Todd Kearns, super great singer and bass player. So we're going to combine, the elements I think from that band with the mixed reality elements that Paul has been working on with me in the conceptual sense. And we're trying to create a narrative that really tells the story of Triumph within a show. And it'll come right back to what you mentioned about Follow Your Heart. We've sort of determined that we think that the message that we want to send is the positivity in music. So positivity in music is something that can really be impactful if it's delivered right. So this show, the idea would be to take some of the elements, the never surrender elements and the fight the good fight elements that, are leading people towards positive outcomes and using music as a lever to do that and have that come through the show. Um, I know that kind of sounds like a lot, and maybe we're overreaching a little bit, but I think sometimes if you don't try things, well, then you know what's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. In our case, there's no certainty to this, but it's an experiment that we're working on, and we're going to take it forward. Uh, this was a great first step playing in Edmonton, and yeah, so there will be some forthcoming announcements about, I think, where we're going to take it next.
You sound very passionate about this project, so I wish you best of luck on this mixed reality show. Alright, and alright, so Magic Power All Star Tribute to Triumph is already out now and it can be purchased through the band's website. And Gil, I thank you very much for taking time out of your day to speak with me.
Yeah, thank you, Lan. It's great chatting with you.
Alright, you have a good one.
You too. Take care. Bye now.